Hello, everyone. Welcome back. I am back from the Microsoft Build Conference. We are going to recap a little of the cool announcements that happened there, a little bit of Velopack announcements, and then we're going to dive into a project called System.CommandLine. One second. I apparently left my audio settings set to stupid mode, and I would like to not be listening to my own echo. So that sounds much better in my ears. Probably about the same for everyone else. Okay, one other warning. I picked up a cough while I was traveling, and it is not wanting to go away. So we're gonna see how well I go on cough meds. So I'm mostly I'm a solid 80%, give or take a little bit. Okay, so first things first. Velopack will put me over here. We are getting very close to having a public beta available. So for people who watched my stream, I don't know, 2 or 3 back now, there was one where I showed off getting started with adding Velopack to your app. At the time, we didn't have the MS Build integration ready to go. There's preview packages of that rolling out the door. So some of those are getting in. If people are interested in trying out a public beta, and specifically, this is our cloud hosted solution that there's a public beta for. If you just want to use the SDK and the library, dive in now. Those are free and open source. We plan to leave them free and open source. None of that's going to change. So if that's all you want, head for it. Hey Izzy, I think you're about half a year off. But yes, it is Build Conference, definitely Geek Christmas, I think is the way I refer to it. But yes, so if people are interested in trying our cloud hosted solution, head over to velopack.io, hit the Discord button, and join the Discord channel. When that opens up, we are going to be posting in there for anybody who wants in. It'll probably be, some number of months of just free in exchange for people just giving us feedback on how it's working. So, if people are interested in that, what free cloud thingy beta? Yeah, Izzy. So this is the Velopack. So this is the installer technology that me and my partner Kaylin have been building. So the hosting is for being able to host your installers up in the cloud where you don't have to think too hard, right? The demo here shows what it takes to create an installer, but with these same steps, we can also push that up to our cloud hosted solution and host your installers and your updates and all of that stuff just kind of works out of the box. Ideally, this is showing using the VPK tool, but .NET Publish with a little bit of setup. I was actually talking to some folks from the Uno project at the Build Conference, and I showed them a demo of taking an Uno app and publishing it live through our cloud hosted solution. It was kind of fun watching their eyes light up because they were apparently running into similar issues, people building a cross platform application and then going, how do I deploy this? It's like, I've got an option for you. So we are talking. They may end up, doing some documentation links to give people some visibility into this option. Okay, Build Conference updates. There are a few. So I know a lot of people here end up watching WPF stuff. So here comes a link of some worthwhile sessions to go and watch the recordings of. So this one here, navigating Win32 app development with WinUI and WPF. So I will summarize this for you and save you watching the whole 50-minute long session. The key takeaways here: WPF is not dead. Microsoft is continuing to invest in it. They technically are encouraging people to say, hey, if you're starting a brand new app, WinUI is the way to go. And I think that is fair. I don't know if I would tell everybody to do that. I think there's more than, hey, is it a new app? Therefore, you go WinUI. But I think it's important to note that WinUI is where they're putting in all of their investments, or the majority of their investment of stuff going forward. But WPF is still getting a lot of work being put into it, so people can be confident that it's not dying. Will the hosting for testing bits be useful? My work will want to run their own instance. So if your work wants to run their own instance, For people who just want to host it themselves, you don't need our cloud hosting solution. We've got plans in the works for some features that we expect like enterprises will want. But if you are just looking to host it yourself, honestly, one of the easiest things to do is when you pack up the here, I'll just grab it real quick. When you create the installer, just put it up on your own like storage account, like an Azure storage account or an S3 bucket or similar. Um, because if you're willing to manage your own cloud hosting and place to put it, you don't need our backend server, right? The installer is going to look out at a URL that you give it, and so you can just point that URL at anything that your organization wants to point their stuff at, and then you're off to the races. Where is the? I was trying to find. Where did I put it? Oh, I'm on my other machine. Sorry. I keep almost all my repositories in the same place, except for on this machine where I move some of them, and then it leaves me halfway confused. So in the samples out on the main repository, what you end up with is something that looks kind of like let's see, is it something that looks like this, right? So you end up with this NuGet package, this zip file, this setup.exe, and these files here. If you just take these files and dump them out on some cloud hosting provider that will serve up files, that's it, right? Yeah, and you can the VPK tool has support for like GitHub releases, anything that runs an S3 protocol. Honestly, on some of my stuff, I've just pushed them to storage accounts and enabled public read access on blobs. That works as well. So yeah, any of those types of things will easily work. So if you're wanting to use a hosting solution, you don't necessarily need ours. There's a handful of things that we're going to start doing that may be there, but at least for the initial release, a lot of it is just going to be automating a lot of that process away. Okay, but this was the yeah, on our MinIO instance. Yeah, definitely. And if you run into problems, that Discord channel here, please, like me and Kaylin are trying to be on top of questions and issues that come up on either the GitHub or the Discord. So please post, especially with any issues, and even post successes. Like if something's working, that would be great. Like right now we support like I don't know 5 languages, but almost everybody that we know of is on .NET. So if people are using it elsewhere, it'd be kind of nice to get success stories too. So, okay, this one here. This is another good WPF session for anybody who is interested. Some key takeaways here. There's some good demos showing off doing native styling. There is some cool controls that they showed for WinUI that I may look to try to port into the material design library at some point. There is a title bar control that they're bringing to WinUI specifically so that WinUI can have that nice window Chrome. Normally, I just push people to Ma apps and say, go use Ma apps. But the control that they demoed for WinUI is almost like a layer above that to make it a little bit simpler. And so I may look at trying to do like a Ma apps integration extra control thing to bring it in, because it looked like a very nice developer story for when you want kind of that custom title bar Chrome along the top of your window. So that was pretty cool. So, and they showed off some stuff with their WinUI gallery. And the interesting part there, and it's poorly named, but you can actually go and grab like the brushes, and they're using the same style keys for WinUI and WPF inside of the system. So if you want to grab them, you can grab their demo app. They wanted it to be a one-stop shop for people. Cool. Is there support for C++? Yes, 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 yes. Yes, 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 yes. Let's see. If we go here, where is the... Oh, it's not here. It is... the Fusion one. But yes, there is... so this is where the code lives for it if you're interested. So we're currently using um, a library called Fusion for transpiling it. Some of this may get rewritten. Um, there's a bit of a desire to do a little bit more Rust work here. So it may not stay this way, but the API is going to be there. So the Fusion is really just kind of a light wrapper over a Rust core anyway. So some of this may get cleaned up. We'll see how well Fusion may or may not stick around completely. But yes, the intent is to have full C++ support. And again, if you try it, Izzy, and there's either issues or it's working, I'd love to hear about them. Oh, Joshua, I knew I'd pique your interest. Yes, there is some desire for more Rust work. So if you are interested in Rust, we'll 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 get you talking to Kaylin again and dive into it. Okay, there were those. There was that session. Okay, now for a couple sessions that are just straight up entertaining. For anybody who doesn't know who Scott Hanselman is, you should learn his name. He is great. I typically enjoy going to his sessions regardless of the topic because I know he's going to make them entertaining. So this one here is really great. I went to several different AI sessions and Copilot things at Build because that was the theme of the conference, right? It was AI and Build all the things, or AI and Copilot everything, right? But in my opinion, this session here was a really good breakdown of kind of practical applications because one of the biggest problems with this whole AI arms rush is people trying to like shove it into things where it doesn't really make sense, right? And figuring out how do I actually make it go. Let's do the voice of Jeffrey from Rainbow. Oh boy, is he? I don't know. Maybe I don't know. I know in a very, very long time ago, he was a stand-up comedian, which I think lends itself well to his presentation style, where it's excuse me, where it's there's a lot of humor that's just kind of bubbling out of it. So yeah, this one I found to be a very good practical demonstration of what AI is good at, what AI is bad at. Like, there's a great sample in here where they have AI just try to count the number of text files, and it sucks, right? Like, things like that, it's not that good at, right? And so I felt like it was a good explanation of the pros and cons and entertaining along the way. Okay, last one. Once again, this is, we'll say Scott Hanselman and friends because they only list 2 of them here. I'm pretty sure there's 5 of them at the very end. We can look. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But there's a lot of this is a lot of like tips and tricks type sessions. Absolutely love this. These are the ones that I always go to because regardless of how long I've been doing it, they always show off something I haven't seen before, right? Like Maddie had a great tip during this one about being able to share links between your phone and your device, and I just used it last night. It was wonderful. Like those types of little things are absolute gold. So if you're looking for kind of tips and tricks walking through a lot of different things, this is great. One word of caution, some of the stuff that they show off require you to grab preview builds. Like they show off a lot of Windows Terminal stuff, but a lot of the Windows Terminal features that they show off require you to be on the latest preview. So just be aware if you're having trouble getting things to work. They were showing stuff off at the conference that these were hot bits. Like things were just built sometimes days before that they were demoing. So this was like last minute demo things. Yeah, all my machine wide WinGet configs are getting an overhaul after this. Yeah, there's a lot of really great stuff in here. So if you're on a Windows machine, I highly recommend this session. If you're not on a Windows machine, there's a few things for you, but it's it's a lot of like, it's how to be productive on Windows. So yeah, if you're on a Mac, I'm sorry, this session will not be that useful for you. Okay. So system command line stuff. So for people who haven't seen it, system command line is, in my opinion, the library that you should be using if you are building command line applications. So give it 3 days before the next set of bugs are released. Yeah, about like that. This is a library that has been open source for a while, and it is what is powering the .NET CLI. So if you have ever typed .NET at a terminal, you've actually been using system command line, or if you've used any of like the .NET interactive stuff, you've used system command line. So this is out there in the wild, but it is getting a major overhaul. This issue kind of goes into a lot of the descriptions, but the idea is it is being, the library as a whole, they are wanting to get it to have the same kind of lifespan as the regular .NET libraries. Like we're talking BCL here, right? So base class libraries. So not NuGet packages, things that are just there when you install the .NET SDK, right? That's the end goal, but the people who manage those have a very high bar, and rightfully so, right? Like, when was the last time you found a bug in the .NET framework? They don't come up a whole lot. So, to get it to that point, they're kind of saying, well, we want this bits of functionality, but not this other bits. So things are being ripped apart. The project is codenamed Powderhouse, and that is where we start our adventure tonight. Blowing things up with Powderhouse. Yeah. So there's a branch out there, main Powderhouse. I've got it here. We're going to see if I can remember how to use keyboard shortcuts. Not it. Open. Oh, it's opening. It's just opening on the wrong monitor. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to apologize because there's a lot of background here, and I'm just kind of skimming over all of it because if I go through it, we may not make any progress tonight. So there is a portion of this library called .NET Suggest. So, and if we actually go here, some command line docs. Boop. Yeah, so you can actually find documentation for this thing, right? Warning, the documentation's wrong. This documentation was written on a previous version of the API. There's a lot of really good, useful information in here, but it is not overly helpful. But you'll note that it does specifically call out this .NET Suggest, which is a .NET global tool. And its purpose in life, and I was looking to see tab completion. It's this feature here. Yeah, this is the guy. Boom. All right, so inside of your terminal, when you are typing, you can hit tab, and the app can actually provide information on what are the next available symbols or next possible commands that you're going to type in, which is great. Because that's what you want. You want something that's very specific. But to do that kind of requires shell integration. And what I mean by that is like this terminal thing here, in order to know, like when I do .NET, like, okay, the grayed out text is Copilot, so ignore that crap. But if I do -- right, and I go to hit tab, right, I'm not getting completion. You can't tell that I'm hitting tab, but trust me, I'm hitting the tab key. If you turn on suggestions, you can actually get your terminal to surface up that information. So like get command, right? If I do tab and I start doing this, I can now tab through all of the options because PowerShell has wired in and is surfacing up those completions. But as nice as that is for like PowerShell commandlets, we would like this on every .NET CLI out there. which would be great, right? The tab completion support is a reason why you should use the system command line library, because it comes built in the box if you just use the library, right? Ooh, good to know, Benjamin. You can actually steer me in the right direction then, because you are probably a teeny bit ahead of me, which will be great. So again, directions here, great. Some of this stuff is gonna die, but docs, right? Yeah, yeah. It's exactly like you said. Version 36, docs written for one. Okay, so if we come here, you'll note very specifically the .NET Suggest project is straight up unloaded. And there's this idea of taking the core library. This is what ends up actually hopefully making it all the way into the BCL. But then there's stuff on top of that, because just this core library is not enough functionality for people building command line apps. It's good, but it's real bare bones. It's for people who want, close to the metal, don't want a lot of features. Most people want a lot of features, right? They want it to be easy. They want to say, I don't want to think about command line stuff. I just want to write my app, make it work. Yeah. See, Izzy, the AIs are slowly coming, and some people have argued like the tab completion feature kind of becomes a little less meaningful with, if you get AI in the terminal, because then it probably guesses even smarter. But there's something to be said about actually surfacing up the actual set of things rather than having some, generative text try to guess its way in, because it's probably not great. Let's see here. Oh, thank you, Benjamin. We may grab that. Well, let's take a look. Benjamin's very conveniently provided me a link. Go get cracking. Go, go, go. Launch? You launch? No, it's not you. It's my there we go. It's my my protocol launchers. It's in a broken state as I was chasing things down. Okay, that's fine. I don't care. In the repo, I see it. Boom. Oh, you pushed it. Oh, there's a Benjamin. You pushed it to someone else's fork. I love it. Okay. Great. A link from Benjamin. Yeah, in a broken state. I'm just gonna briefly glance at what you did before I get too carried away. Let's see. Oh dear heavens. We probably don't want the whites. Yeah, there's gonna be some white space stuff. So I'm gonna glance at what you did, and then I'm going to. Why is this? Okay. Somehow I got a second instance of Get Kraken open and Windows Explorer. Okay. Suggestion dispatch. Okay. Got it. Okay, this is probably not a bad place to start, because it looks like you had kind of tied in a lot of this. An uncomment code to make it available. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. We may start in a slightly different spot and work backwards. So I may start here and just reload this tool. And we're gonna just see how bad this gets, because it's probably gonna get bad fast. This will be a lesson in refactoring. And if it seems like I do refactoring in a weird way on this, one thing I will point out is, if anybody does want to help out, by all means, there's plenty to do. Everything is tagged with the Powder House label on it. Some of these things are more well thought out than others, but if people are interested, definitely feel free. These are the active ones. Some of the other ones, people will probably note, end up getting shelved and ignored because we're in the middle of a big refactor, and chasing out some of these other bugs are probably not a worthwhile use of time. Okay, see? Easy mode. Okay. Oh, I'm on Benjamin's branch. Hang on, hang on. I was like, let's go back to main powder house before I get too carried away. Okay. There we go. And then here we are. And then let's just fire this guy up and see. Sense emotional support in student dev. Oh, don't. Yeah, normally Pikachu, I'd probably encourage everybody to jump in, but I will say there's a slightly higher bar for some of the coded here because the intent is to get it all the way to the BCL. With that said, if people are interested in learning, like there are tasks that maybe require more experience than others, but there's always tasks that somebody new can dive in and help with. So if there is interest, wait, .NET Suggest just compiled? What? What? I'm very confused. I'm mostly confused because it compiled without me having to do a lot of work. Oh, hang on. Hang on. There we go. That's how it's compiling. Okay. Yeah, commented out if it's broken. Oh, see, I thought we just unloaded the Okay, okay, I got you. I got you. So we're gonna do this maneuver. That guy's commented code. That guy's fine. I'm gonna just look for large swaths of commented code real quick. We're gonna find it. You start with a test and work backwards, Benjamin. Why would you start with a test? Tests are for people who write bugs. That's a joke, in case anyone's listening. Very much a joke. Okay, so there's that guy. Okay, so really it all boils down to the dispatcher here. Okay, let's just see how bad it. See, this is what I was expecting. Is something more akin to this, right? Of something TDD. See, Pikachu, you've been around too long. You now know the lingo. People are gonna start expecting more from you. You're only gonna be able to claim the student excuse for so long. Okay. So what do we got? What do we got going on here? So this entire setup, and this is looking for completions and dispatch. So the way this ends up working is the shell script. Hey, I just make the coffee. Oh, come on. No, no, no. Um, these scripts that you see here, this bash, ES1, ZSH, these are scripts that get added into your terminal's profile. So when you start up a terminal, there is a script that automatically runs at the beginning of that, and you can set up you can set up all kinds of defaults and various things that you want. What the way .NET Suggest works, and you can do this with a few other kind of popular CLIs like Git, is you can register up this callback, and it is specific to whether you're in PowerShell, Bash, ZSH, etc. Is you can set up this callback to go through and do it. And you'll note the key thing that this script does is this register argument completer, right? This is a built-in thing that it now is feeding it a script block, and as part of that script block, it's calling .NET Suggest, and it gets access to the current path that it's at. It gets access to the current the cursor's position on the terminal, and then it's calling in and saying, hey, CLI app that's being invoked, what comes next, right? How many POV tests are required? Yeah. So that's effectively what this thing is doing. This command here is literally just dumping the scripts out to the terminal. Let's see. This is just pulling out the apps that have actually registered for .NET Suggest. Let's see. Get suggestions from the specified executable. Great. This is the primary one that script invokes to actually do the work. And okay, so we really just need to go through and set all of these things up. And Benjamin, you may be really helpful here in that I'm going to be Like I think the big one to kill off is or to fix is going to be this invoke async, because this whole thing is ye dead at the moment. And I am curious to take a look at how all of it works. So the key one that I was pointed to was to take a look at the help subsystem, as that was expected to be a thing. Like you'll note here, right? Console hack. That should indicate very strongly the purpose of this. It's a hack. We don't care about the code in it. It's going to die. Okay. The idea with these subsystems is they are a way of storing extra data that isn't going to make it. Sorry, I see it now. I must fix it. Of storing extra data that's not going to make it into the base library. Things like help. I see it, therefore I must fix it because I refuse to not fix it. Okay, so there's that. Primary constructors, new stuff, new stuff, new stuff. I wanted to find, because this is where the subsystem interaction is. Help subsystem. Let's start here, because I wanted to get a good understanding of how these works, because I keep volunteering to help work on this project, and then I keep not being able to spend time working on it because I'm confused as to what's going on. Like I understand it, but I haven't, we'll say, sunk my teeth in deep enough yet. Okay, so this defines the help option here. This initializes the subsystem, adds it in to the configuration root command, and then execute. Where is the top level invocation for this? This is where I'm completion subsystem, help subsystem, value subsystem. Take a look at the values, because this is the one that's able to give back default values. Or let's see, parse result. It is activated, just blindly returns true. This one may not be a good one to look at. That's the dead end I ran to, was killing off invoke async and how to do it properly. Yeah, that's that. And I think, Benjamin, the idea here is going to be a suggest subsystem and this execute. I believe is going to be the replacement. But this is where I'm wanting to try to grok exactly how this goes together, because that is the area where I'm not all the way there. Hey, thank you for the sub. I apologize. I'm reading the name and I am struggling to grok it. But thank you. Glad that you're here. Okay, so this is gonna be an expert in confusion. I can't help myself when I see it. I have to fix it. If this guy goes here, yeah. Oh, thank you for the link, Benjamin. I appreciate it. Yeah, because is this the one that? Yeah, Michaela wrote this one. Okay. Yeah, because I went through this. This is where I feel like Copilot. Like I feel like I understand this, and I'm subsystem API pattern. Yep. What I kind of want to see though is, okay, maybe this is going to answer the question for me. Is if I do this, am I on refix this already? I mean, that's quite impressive, Izzy. I'm not gonna lie. See, this all makes sense, but what I am missing here, there would be several extension methods in Kevin's. The most important is invoke. Yeah, I agree. Invoke. End to end. This is what I'm missing. Okay, root command adds in all of the stuff. Parse result invoke. Invocation subsystem help defaults. Parse result invoke. Okay, does this exist? That's what I'm I think that's the part that I'm missing. Is there a parse result invoke? It would be in here if it existed. It would have to be in here. Okay, I don't know why you're on the wrong screen. Come here. And maybe it just doesn't exist yet. And I think this is why .NET Suggest was described as a good starting point, because it's going to end up being the jump off point. So I want to check and see, is there because this is the completion subsystem. There's only 5 references. And I have a strange suspicion. Pipeline create. There's your parse. There's your execute. Okay. This is the guy. This is the guy. Right? Okay. This is the entry point. Because you'll note, even though, and there's a dirty trick that's happening here if people didn't catch it, right? Like, there's a project called System.CommandLine subsystems with this pipeline guy here, right? Oh, except for my head is in the way, right? Pipeline CS, but then you'll note the namespace is System.CommandLine, right? Normally, you don't disjoint these things, right? This is not something you disjoint. But in this case, it's being done very intentionally. So that means if we go up here, where'd that invoke method go? So this guy here is going to end up not being configuration invoke anymore, right? Like this guy's going to end up doing something. It's called Powderhouse. We can blow it up for a reason. So pipeline. Oh, and actually, okay, step 1, add a project reference, because I'm willing to bet we don't even have that. Yep. We're going to need that. Pipeline, P gets new. Horrible name even. Just going to do that. And then it's going to be p.execute, unless writing an extensions library. Yes, Izzy, that is exactly correct. And that's one of the areas where it's done quite a bit. Like, library developers, I think, are the one case where they have a very good reason to disjoint their namespaces, because they're intentionally trying to get something to line up properly. Okay, constructor's private, which means I go here, so I can't do that. I don't call new, I call pipeline create. I do question a little bit what's the advantage of a create factory method versus a constructor, right? Like, I get pushing people into a factory method, but I don't understand the advantage of this over a constructor. Most people would find a constructor. Some people won't find a static factory method, so whatever. The enumerable also gives me a little bit of a twitch, but whatever. Going to ignore it. Okay, so now we have an execute. So now we need the CLI configuration, which we have already. Great. There should be an args. There we go. Why do we have What is raw input? Why do we have args and raw input? What is the difference here? Execute takes in the string. Raw input, pipeline result, raw input. Oh, interesting. Yuck. I remember this. I know why this is here, and I don't like it. Um, uh, let's just go with environment command line, and let's see. Is this really what we want? Because I don't. Yuck. I don't like having to do this and this. That's yucky. Okay, so that gets me to there. That gets me to there. You execute async. Let's see, CLI exit. That gets me to there. Is this not asynchronous? Do we not have oh, we broke our asynchrony. That's terrifying. There's only one reference here, so we just fix this. We do this. We do this. We do this. We do this. We rename it to invoke. We do this, and we just bring it down because async is kind of a lie. And then we just need to return exit code. Like that. Okay, so that gets me to there. That gets me to there. What is invoke unhappy about? Okay, be happy again. Okay, so that gets me into there. Clean up that using. Don't need to anymore. Okay, now we need to redo these guys. Because these are not... This is not how we set the description anymore. So, why does it exist? Especially when the property on result doesn't have a reference. Property on result doesn't have a reference. Sorry, Benjamin, I missed when you said that raw input. So the reason it exists is because of diagramming the output. So there's a really obnoxious thing that happens when you get this string array of args. If you look at the raw command line, these may not actually match, and it's because terminals can do some stupid stuff. And they don't all behave the same, which is really, really obnoxious. For a command line parsing library is bloody obnoxious. So the reason for it was for the purposes of being able to diagram and report back accurate errors. Right? Because it gets even more complicated when you add in response files. So you're typing on your command line app, right? And you've got like 80 options and arguments you want to enter, which is fine, but that's repetitive, and we're developers and we don't like typing that much, especially one typo and you realize, shoot, I messed up error, now I got to go fix it. So a response file is a way to take those options and arguments, put them in a file, and then just apply that file and say, here's all my options that I want, right? Which is great. System.CommandLine supports it, even better. The problem being is when there's a parsing error, you have to report back to the user in a useful way what options and arguments are there. And when you start adding in response files and you start adding in the fact that terminals will do weird things when they split into this array that aren't consistent, things get weird, which is why this exists. Now, I don't think this is going to live long term. There's no way we leave an API like this. That cannot be the entry point. Like, that'll be horrible. So it is something I would expect to propagate up and die at some point. Okay, so option. Let's see. Set. We have set and width. What is the difference between with and set? With is just a fluency syntax of set. Excellent. Let's see. So with description, and we're just going to take you, and you're going to go whoop. Important to make the sound effect. We can do this now. So I can get away with that. And then, do we have something for legal file paths? I don't know if we do. I don't know if that's been implemented yet. Nope. It is dead code at the moment. So, I'm gonna whack it. Or needs this back. That just hasn't been re-implemented yet. Okay, and then this guy here we can do with description. Thank you, Copilot. Okay, Copilot, do the next one. Look at that, Copilot. You are on point. You are on point, Copilot. Let's see here. And this thing has an issue with the new string. How do we do? Because this thing probably only has name. Oh, wait. It's got name and aliases. Why am I not hitting this constructor right here? String. Oh, it's because it can't figure it out with the... that's annoying. The target type new can't figure it out when you start doing this maneuver. Specify generic. No, it's because target type new doesn't work when you start doing fluency syntax. Like the programmer, and maybe because of the new lines, knows that, oh, look it up from here, but then you add in these and it can no longer do it. So that's one of the disadvantages of a fluency syntax. Let's see here. So this is a command with, let's see. So this guy is going to need to have a, what is left on here? Because description is obviously not there. But does he still support, setting his argument in? Yes, he does. So this is actually a really cool trick with C# that's worth knowing about. So you'll note this class is just CLI command, right? Nothing fancy about it. Public class CLI command. It's got a constructor. It takes a string, right? That's it. Let me find my place. Where did I go? Where was I? Here. Boom, boom, boom. Okay, right? So this needs to come out. So we're just going to whack it. You'll note I am able to do this curly brace here in what's called an object initializer, or in this case, it's abusing collection initializers. And this CLI argument works here. And it only works because this class defines an add method that takes in a parameter, in this case, CLI argument, that matches. That's it. You can do this on any class you want. If you want to make now, is this discoverable? Absolutely not. Like, no one's going to look at the declaration for CLI command and go, oh, look, I see an add method, therefore I can do it. No. Tooling prompting you for an initializer is like the only way, or documentation is the only way that gets discovered. Ever. Okay. We're going to go here. Complete script command. Let's just do set description here because I don't think we're going to do anything fancy. It goes there. Now, how do we wire up a handler? Come back to that. I don't want to think too hard. That sounds like thinking. Not going to think. Let's see. With description. Okay. And then same thing here. Boy, I'm really tempted to let Copilot try. Hey, Copilot. Now, what do I want to put here now that you just deleted it? See? That's why I didn't trust you. You knew I wanted to delete it, but you didn't know that I wanted to paste it. See that? Come on, Copilot. You can do better. See, that's what we were going for. Okay, and I think, see, you once again want to do the deletion for me, but I'm not sure I trust you. So with description, and then we'll just do that, and we'll wrap this around. Okay, something like that. And this is the advantage of the with syntax, is then you can get away with inline stuff like that, which is nice. Like there's sometimes like the history of this project, we went round and round on should there be a fluent syntax, should there not be, and it's one of those, some people really like it and some people hate it, and there's pros and cons of each of them. And it really depends on what you're doing, whether it's helpful or not, right? My opinion is it's kind of nice to have, and in a lot of cases I like a fluency syntax, but there are cases where the fluent syntax just falls over. One of the big ones is with the question mark, right? Because that short circuits an entire line, so you can very easily mess up a fluency syntax type situation with one single character. That's one of the arguments against it. Let's see. Treat unmatched tokens as heirs. I have to look at how that works. I don't remember what the replacement is for that. See what we got down here. So this guy is wanting output, but I think the way you get output isn't like this anymore. I believe the way you get output is by passing in let's see here. Format suggestion arguments. This guy wants to grab the unmatched tokens. I remember from my past last week, CLI root command is basically completely not implemented. Yeah, and that's kind of intentional. So root command was just a specialized implementation. So why do we have this still? Oh, that was probably put in there to compilation with code compilation. Oh, got it. Um, now we're just gonna ask all that. Use compound assignment. That's a little easier to read. The see, once again, I gotta fix it. The root command is just a specialized command because everybody needs a command that executes when their command line fires. That's it. Let's see. Off topic, very student question. Do not ever worry about that, Pikachu. Do developers actually regularly have to draw the 6 to 7 different UML diagrams I have been dragging through, or is this just a rite of passage thing? Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. How do I answer this? Uh so I'm going to start with this. My answer is very much based upon my own experience. Other people may other people may have very different ones. So I work for a professional services company, which basically means a consulting company. And so we work with a bunch of different clients. So I see a lot of different kind of like management and development process interactions. There are some where, well, I'll put it this way. I have worked with 2 clients that were very rigid on UML documentation. When I was in school, they also taught me UML documentation and all of the rules around it, and made us go through and do a bunch of them. And there were only 2 companies I've ever worked for that were actually rigid about wanting people to do UML properly. A lot of companies, and specifically architects, will do some level of diagramming. Sometimes you can tell that the person who did it knew UML way back when, and they don't quite get it right, but it's close enough to convey meaning. So diagramming in general, I would say, is something that is quite often diagramming to show how things go together is somewhat common. I'd say maybe about 25% of the clients that I work with, they have like architects or people doing planning that are putting together some form of diagrams, and only a subset of that do strict UML diagrams. There are companies that do really push for it, but it is a dying breed. A lot of the reasons why they taught people UML diagrams in the past and why it kind of might feel like a rite of passage, is there was kind of an older style of development where it was called waterfall, where you design your project up front. There was a very heavy emphasis on documentation, making sure you get all the requirements right, and then you go build the thing, and then you ship it, right? And most people, when they use the word waterfall, they will use it in a very derogatory form because it's usually seen as a bad idea nowadays. Some people like it. Some people do a form of it and just don't use the name waterfall and love it. Like there are companies out there that still very much do this or do variations of it. You'll hear people reference agile, where it's, quick iterations. And the thing is, documentation and agile kind of sometimes butt up against each other because documentation has its place, but the idea with agile is you only build as far as you actually know, right? And so sometimes it's, I'm going to go and build this small chunk because this is the bit of requirements that we know about. And so we're going to build what we know. We're going to ship that to our users. We're going to get more information. Then we're going to build the next bit. Right? And not to say that there's not documentation in that process, but it's hard to do like this big diagram when you don't know everything. Whereas waterfall, you're trying to know everything. You're trying to gather the requirements, communicate everything. They play a much bigger role. So, yeah, I will say most developers in day-to-day life don't do a ton of UML diagrams. That I will say is probably very much like, even here in the US, academia lags behind industry quite a bit, like a lot, and I totally get it. Our college professors they work very hard, and unfortunately it's really hard to keep up with our industry that moves so quickly and like hold down a full-time job as a professor. That is like 2 full-time jobs. And so it's very difficult. And so a lot of what gets taught is dated. And so I would not be shocked to find if you were if you are in a similar boat where it's something being kind of forced from a dated mindset. I will say it may be obnoxious to do. It's not a bad skill to have, right? Like Izzy's comment of pictures speak 1,000 words, or Wablig's comment up above of, doing UML for fun. Like documentation and diagramming still have a really good place. And so I don't hear me say that, oh, we don't need to do UML diagrams or documentation. Like, no. Those, like, that stuff is very useful. But is it something that I do on my day-to-day? No, not usually. I would say a lot of the diagramming and documentation actually, like, it's unfortunate because you graduate college where they taught you how to do it, you go become a developer, and it's only when you start actually getting to like the team lead or the senior developer or the architect that people end up actually doing the diagrams a lot. Oftentimes the entry level devs, they aren't the ones making the diagram. They're the ones receiving the diagram and then going and building the thing. So do with that what you will. But yes, it is a useful skill to have. I will say that. Okay. Something. We need to find set action and unmatched tokens. What is this? End of second token. Oh, I didn't do the rename. That's why it's flagging it. Okay. Like, why is it saying it's unused? It wasn't unused before. It's unused because I made it unused. Okay. Let's figure out how set action is intended to work, because I don't remember how that's expected to work. Okay. So with invocation handler, because invocation sub. Okay, so let's go find this invocation subsystem. Do you actually exist yet? Because if we don't have an invocation subsystem, that's gonna put a real big damper on this thing. Let's see. So let's start with the pipeline guy again, and let's just dive from there. Because you are clearly doing something. Do you exist? Help version, like you execute the subsystem. Version completion diagram error reporting value. So hang on, how does this thing work? I am very confused. There is no invocation in here. So this gets a pipeline result, execute subsystems. All right, and it's very possible that some of these things just may be unused. So iterate over the subsystems where they aren't null. Like they shouldn't be null, but okay, so that rips through there. This is the problem with this being in a halfway state. Some of this may legitimately just be unused or unknown. Okay. Execute if needed. Execute if needed. Get is activated. Okay. And a lot of these names are very much in flux as well, by the way. Like we're kind of just ignoring naming at the moment because functionality over naming. If it's atrocious, we'll fix it, but the moment it's make it work. This comes in here. We don't have an invocation. No way. Hang on. Show me Powder House. Do we have pipeline execution order, pipeline API, one of these here? Where's the one invoke? That's not a real invoke. We don't have an invocation pipeline. I'm huh? Something's not jiving. Because in order for this to work, a subsystem has to trigger it. Right? We just looked at the entire execution. It's not complicated, right? Execute comes in here, it does some parsing and gets a pipeline result, executes the subsystems, literally for each is on the subsystems. Calls execute if needed. Execute is if needed is not complicated. If subsystem is activated, call execute. Literally it. It's not hard at all. Very, very, very simple code. Okay, help version complete value error reporting. Because this is all designed. This is all designed to get back a parse result. This doesn't actually. We're missing the invocation one. Okay, so that's gonna be a problem. That's gonna be a problem here. We might have to build that first. Edge, what are you doing to me? Why is my browser hung? Can I use my browser, please? Apparently I can't click to move the window around. The right edge is dead. Oh, now it's back. Okay, that is weird. Okay, so this one here, design one, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so this is very much in flux. So we really can't do... Okay, so we really are going to be stuck here at the moment. So what we can do though is we can start here, right? We can start to get, and you'll note we're doing a very different commenting style than what I would normally do, and it's all around the get diffs. Because if you do the double forward slash at the beginning of all of the lines, get will report every single one of those lines as being a difference, despite the fact that you want to just comment out a range. So for range comments, we've been doing this. That way, it only shows those two lines as the diff rather than the whole thing. Okay, so we need that. This is going to get us pretty close. This is also going to need to get, because this just wants the output. Who invokes this? I think parse result actually has the one of these we passed in the console hack, which is actually how you get the value back, because parse result doesn't have output anymore. That was one of the key changes that went in. So parse result is dead. So where I'm missing something. Where was get being invoked from? It must have been invoked from one of these things up here. So set action. Got it. So in order for it to work, pipeline result has console hack. Yeah, I know pipeline result does, but the hard part is we need the console hack to make it all the way into here. And this is going to be the hard part of getting this thing working, is there's only so much we can do to make this work. But I think the big thing is less about getting this fully to work. This one concerns me the most. Unmatched tokens. Why did we get rid of unmatched tokens? To do unmatched tokens, CLI token still exists, right? Because we might need to just bring back. Yeah, so CLI token still exists. Oh, but it's internal sealed. That's why it's whacked. That is interesting. So where? Hold on. Who? I'm confused. Why is this to do unmatched tokens? Yep, that's the line we're missing. But they've killed off. And this is where unmatched tokens may go away, and it's the air subsystem that actually, because this might be a situation where a hmm, um this also concerns me a great deal. Uh, duh, duh, duh. Yeah, colorization inside of terminals is an interesting problem. Okay. Not going to not going to touch it. Not going to touch it. Not going to touch it. I'm going to resist temptation. Okay. Because the key thing here was actually implementing the completion subsystem. So let's since we know we can't get the full CLI program working, but we have it. We may have to comment this out, but let's back up. If the completion subsystem was actually going, oh, one moment. One moment, please. We need to open my dashboard. Boom. Got it. Okay. we still want to implement this completion subsystem. And specifically for the completion subsystem, that is going to be around that get command, where it's attempting to look it up. So it's not list. It's not the completion script. It is and it's not register. Where's the get command? Why am I not seeing? There you are. That action get. So the completion subsystem is explicitly this get. Let's go find get. Yeah, so in here, let's see. So parse result, get value, execution. This is what actually is intended to be used here. Suggestion registration, find registration, pulls it back. So the suggestion, the .NET suggest registration references the path, parse result, get position. This is wrong. We're gonna bail on null. We shouldn't get position until after we know we aren't about to bail. That's just weird to have that up above. Should do it down here. Pull the executable path, format suggestion arguments, and I think this is just doing some parsing. So regardless, this is using what is called a directive. Which directives have been replaced with these subsystems as well. Because, for example, diagram. Right? Diagram was also a directive. Right? So a directive subsystem. Is completions. Yeah, so we may need, yeah, this is gonna need some work. So it's gonna need to be that's gonna need to change. Sorry. Killing diagram off for the moment. I keep losing my place. So so it formats it, builds it up, and the whole point here is it's building up a CLI invocation because it's actually going to invoke in on it. Suggestion store get completion. So you'll note target exe path. So it's actually going to invoke that executable with some args. It has a timeout because we ain't going to wait forever. And if we look at the implementation, it just feeds it in. And then more importantly, it's just looking to pull back the output. Retest, wait for timeout, and then pulls. Yeah, this is a way of doing like TPL stuff. Do not mimic this. This is not normal. I think there's a simpler. I believe there's a static method for this, isn't there? Like process start new. Yeah, there's a much simpler. I don't know why we did it the hard way. I don't know why we did it the hard way. There's a static method for doing exactly that, so you don't have to work as hard. And then we can flatten that up, and then you don't need to call start. And that's just simpler. Okay. So that just gets back the standard output from the invocation. Great. And then the completions need to be written to standard out. Technically, we can just do that. Okay. Works. Okay. We'll do that. That gets us to there. And so then the key thing that we need to implement in the subsystem is this thing is building up um, invocations for either .NET, target exe name, and then the suggest directive, which takes in a position. So in our completion subsystem, we're going to take a brief gander at the diagram one because it is going to be somewhat similar. Why do I not see diagram when I'm looking at this? See under directive. This goes up here too. Yeah, because this goes here. Because it's going to be in this same vicinity. And hang on. What's going on here? Oh, this guy's using a primary constructor and this guy isn't. Okay, well, let's fix that. Use primary constructor. There. Good luck, Izzy. That does sound like kind of a little bit of fun, though. So don't have too much fun. But good luck. Let's see, directive subsystem. And then this guy wants the name of the directive. Completions annotation prefix. What the heck is this? IDs for well-known completion annotations. Huh? Huh? I got no idea what that's for. The heck is this? Diagram annotations. What is... Where's this one used? Not. I. Okay. I wasn't supposed to delete it. It should be named Powderhouse. Okay. That's the opinion I'm operating under right now. Named Powderhouse, which means nuki nuki. This becomes suggest. Okay. Now, figure out trigger for completions. Well, yeah. See, exactly, Pikachu. That is exactly right. Now, how do we check for okay, so this guy here oh, does the base class handle checking for the directive for me? Look at that. It handles checking. Get is activated, returns found. Found, I assume, is getting set somewhere in here. Yeah, okay, perfect. So I don't need to implement this method at all. That's easy. Okay. I love the logic for get is activated. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so when this guy is... Because we do want the early exit on execute, right? Successfully handled. So we want to indicate that we ran properly. Then the question is, where is the old code for the directive for suggest? That's what I want, because wait, what? Did I miss that? Is it in the base? Where did you find that? Return true, false, false. Oh, that's what it was doing before. Ah, yes. Okay. Whoo, you scared me. I was like, what? Did I put that in? Yeah, no. Yeah, I don't know. That was to do code. So let's find. Am I? Oh boy, meds are wearing off. That's exciting. Um, suggest directive tests. This guy here, like it was called suggest directive, and it did live inside of the main one. Clearly not there anymore. Means it's inside of extended. Nope. Is it outside of the project? So I'm not seeing it. Let's see. Where is the button to switch between folder view? There we go. Okay, so if we go here and we go here, I do this. Found you. Let's see. That's the guy that's going to contain what I want. Show it to me. There's the actual logic. There's what we want. Okay, so this does stuff. Gimme. No, I do not want to sign in order to copy text. Thank you for asking. Go back to real mode. What are you? Okay, sign me in, I guess. Stop being a pill. Okay, so subsystems, completion subsystem. All of that code is going to go here. Okay, so pipeline result. I assume you're going to have my parse result on you. Yeah, there we are. So we're going to go parse result. That gets me into there. Okay, and then raw input. So it's mildly convenient that that exists because that's much easier to acquire. Let's see. And then pipeline result has console hack, right? Yep. So that goes like that. And then, nope, stop helping me. Stop it. Stop it. There we go. Thank you. You made that harder than it needed to be. Okay, so then we have to grab. See, what is this doing? So it's attempting to pull. It's attempting to pull the directive out of the parse result. Do we need to do that? Because down here, initialization context, yeah, this thing's going to jump us forward. We already know the location's already been parsed. Because this location is already. Do that. It's a little cleaner. This guy has already advanced himself. I believe this is the location of the directive. Right? Yeah. Add processed location or add pre-processed location. What do you do? What is your purpose? What is your purpose? Do not understand your purpose. Do max index. Where do you get used? Oh, and tokenize. Interesting. Max skipped positions. Like it's intentionally trying to skip directives. Interesting. Okay. Feels like there's a shortcut here. Because what is this? This is trying to pull the value of the directive out. Because it wants to find the directive and then it wants to find the colon to get the position. Did this thing parse that though? It's already got it in value. Yeah, so it's already got it in value. We don't need this. That goes there. That goes there. And then we don't need this. Okay, so that makes that easier. Okay, so then what is it trying to do here? Command line to complete. See you, Joshua. Have a good night. I probably shouldn't push my luck too much either. But I kind of want to get this in a. I want to have something to show for my efforts. Let's see here. So if this goes command line to complete, so it's iterating over the tokens, finding the last one that's not a directive. Because the assumption is that because these two bits of code are key here, right? Is this the formatting of this argument and the parsing of that argument, right? These are the two halves or the two sides to the coin. Right? This one formats it with the suggest directive, takes the other command line, escapes it, wraps it in quotes, and this thing is intentionally trying to pull out that bit of code. Did I edit the wrong one? No, that it goes away. This one. Okay, so this is just trying to grab the remaining. This is just grabbing the next token, assuming that that's the only thing that's going to be on the command line, which this is a complicated way of saying, give me the only other thing left. And then this feeds that command line into the parser of the application. So if we go parse result, because this is the configuration, where is the parse method live? Because that's kind of what we're looking for at the end of the day is the parse method. Pipeline execute has the parse. CLI parser parse. I think this is actually what we want to be doing over here. We want to be doing something more akin to this. We want that. And then we want the root command on the configuration. So let's see. Pipeline result. Parse result. Configuration root command. Okay, so we're gonna ignore that for the moment. This guy has how many overloads? Cool. So he'll just take a string command line. So we can feed him the command line to complete. And then we can feed him the parse result configuration. Well, I guess I don't need to go all the way. I've already got the parse result there. So I can back down here, right? And do this. Parse result configuration. there. So that's going to give me completions parse result. Let's see. Bar completion parse results. That eliminates that. And then this get completions method. Where do you live? Let's see. Suggestion store. Where else do you live? Get completions. Get completions. Get completions. Get completions. You exist somewhere. Get completions. You're commented out somewhere. I know you are. Where are you? This is a test. Parse result, get completion. So parse result used to have get completions on it. So parse result used to have completions on it. Let's go a spelunking there first then. Completions. So this guy here, but we don't want to put, this can't live here anymore. This needs to be lifted up. So let's grab this for a moment. Come here. And you get to go live over here now. You get to be happy in your new home. Transplanting a fish. Okay. Be happy, my new little fish. Okay, we have get completion. It's actually going to go here. Okay, and then we're going to need to pull this sucker back in a number of ways. And result is inaccessible. Yeah, there's gonna be a little bit of this that's gonna require a little bit of work. Okay, before we get to get completions is only actually at probably gonna need to pass the parse result. Yeah, we're gonna need to pass in a parse result. I just realized that I was like, we're parsing them, we aren't using it. Yeah, but we're gonna need it because we just took it off of that class, so I can guarantee it's gonna access instance members in there somewhere. We're gonna have to feed it in. Okay, let's see how we get this token here. Let's see. So parse result. I really just want to grab the remainder. How do I get the remainder? This guy. Get value result because it just has get value. I want access to whatever's left. Pipeline result. Does my base class know? It feels like my base class knows this. Like, how does diagram do it? This diagram should be grabbing the remainder. Oh, look at that. It's not implemented. Yeah, so it has the code in here. It's just not implemented. Okay, because this needs to be the remainder or what's left. So let's take a look at this. How do we get that back out? We have the value, we have the location, context configuration. It feels like this guy here knows enough to give me back what's left. Argument is root command, add preprocessed location. Root command, there's a bunch of stuff in here that's all commented in. Something in here it needs to give me back. Something in here needs to give me back the the remainder. Do that for the moment. We can do that for the moment just to make it happy. And then let's hunt down this completion item. Don't know where that was. Oh, you're here. Where do you exist? You live anywhere. You? Completion. No, I want completion item, not completion action. That's what I want. Let's see here. Oh, for people who haven't seen this algorithm before, this is an old school way of generating hash codes. So you take so when you want to, in this case, it's trying to generate a hash code for this completion item class. And so the idea is you take the hash code, multiply by a large prime number, which 397 is prime, and then you XOR that with the next item, and you can just repeat that for as many items as you want. Nowadays, we have things like records and similar, so you generally don't have to do this. Oh, what is a hash code? That is a wonderful question, Pikachu. So a hash set is something, it's sort of. If you imagine, well, so you're at some point you will probably end up having a class or a lecture on data structures. And a hash set is a very common one that is used. A hash set is a collection of items that can be looked up very quickly. And the idea is if you have an array, let's say you have an array of length 10, right? If you have some items and you give each of them a number and put them in the array, it becomes very easy to know which things are there. So, for example, let's say we have an array of length 10 and we're going to store strings in there. And we're going to store the strings based upon their length. So if I took my name, Kevin, has 5 letters, I put that in bucket 5 because it has 5 letters. Great, right? I come across a Bob. Bob has 3 letters, so I put Bob in bucket 3. Well, the problem comes is when I meet Joe, Joe also has 3 letters, and now I have a collision. So hash codes are a way of trying to come up with a unique value to represent a bigger object. They aren't always guaranteed to be unique, and hash code collisions are a source of many a white paper of how to do it. But ideally, what you would want is a hash code to evenly distribute, right? Because in my example, we only had 3 names. We had an array of length 10. We have more than enough space to store all the items, but now we've got a collision. And so it's like, well, shoot, where do I put it? Well, maybe what I do is I shift it over and I say, well, you know what, Joe, you're going to go in bucket 4, even though you should have gone in 3. And now when I want to look up to see if Joe is in my hash set, I go, well, Joe is length 3. I look in bucket 3. That's Bob. I now have to go forward to see, is the next thing over a 3-character word named Joe, or is it a longer one, in which case I can stop searching. So it's very quick to search. Like, that's the thing with hash sets, is they're really quick lookups. And so they underpin a lot of other data structures like dictionaries and similar that like that fast lookups. The problem is generating a good hash code is a subject of much debate. In C#, we can cheat, especially modern C#. There is a hash code class, and you can literally just say, you know, combine these values together and give me back a good number, because I don't want to think about prime numbers and XORs and multiplication and all of that mathy stuff. That's work, right? Just do the right algorithm for me. And Microsoft goes, yeah, it's fine. We wrote the algorithm. You don't have to be an expert in, even distributions to be able to get this right. We'll do the algorithm for you. It's like, thank you. Very nice. But not all languages have that. And so knowing that kind of generalized pattern, there's a name for this, and I'm blanking on what the name is. There's a name for this algorithm where you multiply by a large prime and then XOR with the next value and multiply that by a large prime. And so if there were more here, like for example, if we wanted detail to be part of, because you'll note here, the hash code of this object is based upon label and kind, which is also what the equality is based on. So if two instances have the same label and kind, they're considered equal, even if their insert text, and documentation is different. That's all we compare on, right? So sometimes you want equality to be across all the properties. Sometimes you don't. So yeah, so a hash code is just a integer representation of an object. Ideally, I don't want to say random, even distribution is what it aims for, is so that you don't get collisions in the buckets. Turns out this requires a kernel rebuild, so I have about 8 hours. That's horrible, Izzy. Okay. Well, this is going to be a completion item. Actually, I think I'm draining fast. I can feel my medication wearing off, and so I may need to go and actually rest. But before I get too carried away, create branch. Let's see. Powder House. Completions. We're gonna go here. Dash. Starting. Work on completions. Subsystem. Okay. I'm gonna do that for now. And then the question is going to be, for the drivers of the HDMI chip to use the cable properly. Dang. Some people get to have all the fun building stuff, Izzy. Let's see. Do I push to my fork? You know what? I'm going to push to Kathleen's only because the people who might help out with me, I know also have push permission there. So I'm going to push to a different fork. So, but I may call it a bit early tonight because like I said, I am wearing out fast. So probably we'll dive into this more. Hopefully get back to a lot of this. There's been a bunch of activity on the material design project. Thank you, Nikolai, for all of your help. I've been trying to dive in and clear out issues and answer questions and push through. It seems like more people are picking up the 5.0 release, which is great. Been a handful of bugs that have come up, so there's probably a 5.1 in the future here at some point. Yeah. Do check out the recordings from the build conference. They are absolutely worth watching. And with that, I'll tell everyone, oh, I didn't ask why you would use a hash code versus a GUID. Great question, Pikachu. Hit me up next time and we'll go over that. I feel like my brain is suffering tonight, and so I'll come prepared. I'll say that. So with that, happy coding. We'll see everyone next time.